Hello. It's no makeup day today. So this is what you get. I look like I just woke up, but I've been up for a little bit. And it looks like we have at least one person on. So normally I would turn my phone on airplane mode so that I cannot get disturbed. However, my son just got his driver's license about a week or two ago, about 2 weeks ago, and he hasn't driven very much. And he just went to drive to his friend's house. And he called me about 10 minutes after he left. He was very shaken up. He had tried to turn left on a green light in front of another car coming towards him, and he didn't realize that that car had the right of way. So when he turned in front of them and they came towards him, they had to slam on their brakes and like avoid crashing into him. So he pulled over and was very upset. And he couldn't decide whether he wanted to come back home or go to his friend's house to pick him up. And then he wanted me to go pick him up. And I was like, no, if I pick you up now, like you'll never drive again. He wanted me to drive him to his friend's house. And so I had to make him, I told him he could come home. He was only like 3 miles from the house, but I had to make him continue, either come back or keep going. But I knew that if I bailed him out from driving, it would be a long time before he drove again. He's on the spectrum, so he kind of his anxiety level is higher than average. Anyway, the whole point of it is he's on his way. He decided to go ahead and go to his friend's house, and I told him to text me when he gets there. But if he calls me, I got to get that phone call because I'm a little nervous with him being on the roads and trying to go get his friend. His friend is like 20 miles away. So, yeah, a little nervous today. So I'm just checking my phone off and on. But we will go ahead and talk about and I don't know who's on here, but we can talk about if you want to put your name in the chat or let me know, that'd be awesome. And if not, that's fine too. We're going to talk about what we call week 2. It's not really week 2, but it's module 2. It's like lessons 8 through 14. And then we'll go ahead and schedule another live session like later on this week because I'm behind on the sessions and I need to make sure that you guys get all 4 of those weekly sessions before we close down the group. And if we don't get to that, I won't close down the group until I've given you the 4 live sessions. So I'm not going to take anything away from you. If anything, I will add to it. So to talk about, we had some feedback, and I don't know if you guys read it, but we had some feedback from someone in our group that said she had an aha moment when she was on lesson 8, and it really helped her to kind of move forward into a new way of thinking. And so I was like, yes. And then the next thing I thought was lesson 8, which one is that? So I had to go back and look up and find out what topic lesson 8 was. So, and now that I'm looking at it, that makes perfect sense because lesson 8 is like, it's one of my central, to me, it's one of the basic fundamental ideas of this course and of like healing from grief in general. I think it's one of the most important ones. And so the fact that we got some feedback for that, I think is awesome. And it makes me feel good because I know that whatever it was that I did to create this is helping somebody. So that makes me feel good. All right. So the topics, I'm going back and forth I have the notes in front of me on the screen. So the topics for module 2, lesson 8 was actually action before thought. And so if you haven't looked at it yet or watched the video or done any of the lessons on these yet, then you'll know what's to come. But action before thought is basically like if you're in fresh grief, especially, or if you're in active grief and you're sad a lot and you start telling yourself, well, I'm just going to wait until I feel better. Once I feel better, then I'm going to do these things. When I start feeling happy, then I'll do the happy things. When I start feeling less sad, then I'll go out and start socializing with people. And it's the same kind of ideas when you're trying to exercise. When you first start exercising, you feel great about it on day 1 or maybe day 2, but then you start getting really, really sore, especially in the beginning because you're out of shape and you hurt and you don't want to go back because it hurts so bad. And then after a while, the newness wears off and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go. You don't feel like going. And so if you wait to go work out until you feel like working out, you will hardly ever work out. And so what happens is you just tell yourself to go, whether you feel like it or not. You put it on your schedule, you just get up and you go. And then once you go, once you're there, it's like, oh my gosh, this sucks, but I'm already halfway through. Okay, now I'm just about done. Then when you get finished and you go to your car, you tell yourself, man, I'm so glad I did that. Like nobody walks out of a workout and sits in the car and says, I really wish I hadn't done that. Like unless you injure yourself, but like nobody ever regrets the workout when they're finished with it. So that's the whole point, is that when you're trying to go through the grieving process, don't wait until you feel better to start doing the things, because you won't ever do the things. It's doing the things that makes you feel better. Even if you don't feel like it, even if you don't think you're in the mood, even if you don't think you're ready, get up and just get up and get ready and go. Go ahead and commit yourself to doing something. Put it on your lesson plan, put it on your calendar, put it on your agenda, and just go ahead and do it. And even if you don't love it the whole time you're there, you have to know that when you're finished, that you accomplished something and you can be proud of yourself for getting out there and taking a few steps forward. And that's something to be proud of. And so there's a law. I mean, this lesson is a long one, but that's basically the premise of it, is that do the things first, like make your body do the things, your heart and your mind will eventually follow. And so it's a backwards from what we usually think, like let's get our mind ready and then our body will follow. It doesn't really always work that way. So we got to flip the script and kind of fool ourselves. We have to fool our mind into thinking that it's ready to do the things. All right. And then the other lessons that are in this module, one of them is about exercise. And so I go through the scientific advantages of exercise, not just, oh, you're getting shape and you feel better, but the hormones that get released when you exercise, the mental benefits, the physical benefits, the mind body connection, just how healing your body is just as important in grief as healing your heart and healing your mind. Like you have to do all of the things. You're not going to get better in grief. Your heart's not going to heal in grief if your body is, in the garbage, and if your mind is not in the right place. You have to know that your mind's got to be in the right place for your heart to heal. Like your whole body has to move forward together. Your body, mind, spirit, soul, all of that has to heal together, because if you start separating it into different parts, you're going to be disconnected and it's just not going to work. So we kind of talk about the whole body healing. The whole module is called Feeding Your Body, Your Mind, and Your Spirit. So it's basically like, you got to get yourself healthy in a healthy place. And so we talk about eating healthy. And so there's another lesson about eating, and it's not like pointing out a diet. It's one lesson, so it's not going to be like real in depth, but it's just going over the basics about how eating healthy can change yourself on the inside, change your body. And then when your body starts to function better, then your mind can function better. When your mind can function better and talk about the healthy things, then your heart can feel better, because it's yourself, I guess. I'm trying to figure out what I would call it, but what's inside of yourself, you listen to your own self. Like you listen to the voice that your mind creates. Like, so you talk to yourself in your mind and you tell yourself what to do. And so you have to train yourself to tell your mind what to tell yourself. I don't, it's hard for me to explain it, but like you have to self-talk, right? And so we have to teach ourselves healthy ways to self-talk. That's what I'm trying to say. And so feeding your mind and feeding your body is going to all kind of help work together in that way. I think I'm kind of rambling at this point, so I'm going to move on. All right. And then there's another lesson about quiet reflection. Okay. And I talk about in quiet reflection and talk about lots of different ways to participate in that. So it could be reading, it could be sitting quietly, it could be meditating, it could be praying, it could be chanting, it could be just sitting outside and just, sitting in a hammock. There's lots of different ways. So there's some spiritual parts of it and there's some just regular people parts of it. And so depending on what your ideas are, depending on what your values are and what your beliefs are, as to how you need to do that, but you need to find some way of having quiet reflection. So you get to choose because it'll kind of cover all of those. And I even walk you through like a guided meditation, even though I don't really meditate. I try to do something just to give you like just something to start with, just to give you an idea of how it could work. I'm not that great at it, but I did the best that I could. But just, something to give you an example, like a real life example of how you could guide yourself through like a guided relaxation method. And you might be better at meditating than I am. I don't know, but I did try. And meditation is hard for me because I have ADHD, and so it's probably even more important for me than neurotypical people. But I have a hard time sitting still and just letting my mind just go to wherever, because my mind is like this all the time. And so when I sit still, and then it's hard to calm my mind. But I think it's probably important that I try. I do pray. So when I pray, that helps. But I can't even pray for a long time because after a while, like my husband prays a lot for us. And when he starts praying, a lot of times he'll pray for a long time. And a long time to me is like 5 minutes, like before dinner and we're trying to eat or whatever. But like after a few minutes, my mind starts to wander and I'm like, oh, wait, what was he talking about? So I have a hard time like maintaining my thought process on one thing. And when I take my medicine, it sometimes helps me focus, but it also makes me real chatty and like I focus, but I'm like, I'm not very relaxed. And so that's something that's kind of hard for me. So I'm still trying to search out a good way. We bought a hammock, and I think I might start now that the weather is nice. I think I might start spending some time in the hammock, like at least a couple times a week, and just kind of letting the breeze flow and like relaxing in the hammock and seeing if I can let my mind just kind of wander over things and see if that helps. Then there's committing to an event. So I kind of already talked about this a little bit, but like instead of just saying, yeah, I need to go do, to this party or this meeting or this club meeting or whatever, instead of saying it in your mind, go ahead and commit to it. Like go ahead and RSVP, go ahead and pre-register for that event, go ahead and put it in your calendar, go ahead and call somebody and ask if they want to go with you, and then plan on going together. Because once you go ahead and commit to it, you're less likely to back out. If you just say in your mind, yeah, I'm going to go to that prayer group, on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. If you haven't told anybody you're going and you haven't registered or you haven't RSVP'd or whatever it is that you need to do, then when the time comes, you're likely to be like, again, I don't feel like going. And then that goes back to action before thought. Go even if you don't feel like it. But it's more likely you'll show up if you've called somebody and said, hey, you want to go to this thing with me? Or if you've called the person who's leading it and saying, hey, I've never been before, but I would like to join you on your such and such. I will see you there on this day. Or like I said, if you register, if you go ahead and commit to it, it will be harder for you to back out. And then you'll have to deal with, well, it's just easier to just go than it is to call somebody and back out, change plans, cancel plans or whatever, because that causes me anxiety. And so if you go ahead and commit to it, you're more likely to go ahead and do it. Just like when I was working out, I haven't been working out as much. I need to get back into it. But when I was, it was part of my schedule. And when the COVID hit, there was limited spots in the workout. So they only limited like 12 people. And so you had to sign up ahead of time and get your spot. If you didn't get your spot, when it was full, you couldn't work out that day in time. And there was only limited times that I could go because I had to go right after work and then go back home. And so you had to sign up for your slots ahead of time. And if you signed up and you didn't go, they would charge you like $10. And so it really helped me because I'd go in the beginning of the week and I'm like, I'm going to go Monday, Wednesday, Friday at the 4:30 slot. And I went ahead and booked my slot, put my name in there. So not only would I have had to unbook it and not show up, but I would have had to pay money to not show up. And then I would not have gotten any of the benefits of the exercise. And I'm one of those people. I love the results of exercise, but I do not enjoy exercising. I don't like it. It hurts and it just makes, like it makes me out of breath. And maybe I'm just never quite in good enough shape, but like I like to play sports, but working out, I don't enjoy it. I enjoy the benefits of it. So they say that you suffer for 1 hour so that the other 23 hours of your day are better. And I have to see it as that. And so that's what I try to do. with exercise. But we talk about committing to an event. Then we talk about hobbies. So if you don't want to work out and you don't like to do those things, well, then we talk about finding hobbies, how you can find them, where you can sign up, what kind of hobbies that there are out there to do, how to decide what hobbies are good for you and would match your personality or your ability or even your budget. And so we have a whole lesson about choosing hobbies and how to get started and how to incorporate hobbies into your life. Something to, to kind of get your mind off of your grief and onto creativity and doing something that you enjoy. And I'm checking my phone because I've had some texts. I want to make sure my son is not one of them. Okay. Nothing from him yet. So hopefully he's still safe. Okay. And then the last module is seeking and asking for help. And so a lot of times I'm guilty of it. I have trouble. I can seek help like anonymously, I'll go out and research and find resources for myself, but like reaching out to people and saying, I need help, please help me. I am horrible at that. I struggle with that because I just don't I don't want to bother people. And I feel like when I'm asking for help from someone that I'm burdening them. Because I think about, well, if somebody asked me for help, I would help them, but I would also be like, wow, I've got this on my plate, this on my plate, this on my plate, this on my plate. And now this woman needs a ride to work, which means I got to get up earlier and I got to go, I go through all these things and I would do it. I definitely would do it. But like, I know that it would make me have to change some of my plans and adjust. And the thought of having to do that to someone else makes me feel guilty. And I'm just not that person. Like I don't like being the needy person, if that makes sense. I don't like being the one who's always saying, do you think you can help me with this? Do you think you can help me with this? I'm very independent. And it's like, I would rather work really hard. I'd rather work my ass off and just like suffer and do and get through it rather than ask somebody to help me. It's almost to a fault. And so I remember when I first married Dewey and he was like, why don't you let me help you? Why do you sit over there and suffer through all this stuff when I could help you? You have all this housework to do. Why don't you let me help you? You have all these bills to pay. Why don't you let me help you? This is when we were still dating. And he did break me down, over time until I finally felt comfortable saying, hey, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? And so now that I'm remarried, I don't mind asking for help from my husband because I feel like that's just comes along with marriage, right? We're a team and we just do things. I help him, he helps me. But reaching out for help, like outside of my family unit, I have trouble with that. And so we talk about that in that lesson and some ideas of how you could find resources and how to ask for help if you need it and those types of things, how to get over yourself when you don't want to ask for help, because sometimes we just need to do that. And that's a lesson for me too, because I struggle. Like a lot of these things that I talk about, it's easy for me to tell you, but the reason why I came up with these topics, because they are things that I have either struggled with in the past or that I still struggle with now. And I know that if I need help with it, then there's probably other people that need help with it. So, that's how I came up with all these topics, are like, what are the things that I have struggled with the most in my grief journey? And so, wow, I'm looking at myself. I'm like, wow, I'm looking rough today. I was right before I turned on this record, I was on YouTube to try to find, to make this little lesson, this session. And when you go on YouTube, there's like a homepage and it's got all these suggested videos. And so amazingly, in the middle of the page was what was my daughter's page, and she has like 27 subscribers. She's had her page for like 5 years. It's just like things for her to put some personal videos up. But for some reason, her video came up in the middle, and it was her audition video for The Voice from 2019, and it was like 3 minutes long. So I was watching it, and I don't think I had ever seen it before. But in the intro, she talks about her dad. She's like, yeah, my dad died of cancer 1.5 years ago. That was in 2019. That's when it was. She was 17 at the time when she made the video. She was 15 when he died. So she's telling this little story about why, how he was her biggest fan, and like how he loved to listen to her sing. He never missed any of her performances. He never missed her games. And she's just talking about how her dad was her biggest fan and how she was dedicating the songs that she was singing to him. And then she started singing, and she has the voice of an angel. I mean, I'm gonna have to find some videos that I can post that aren't, it's hard because they're copyrighted, and she sings, she covers popular songs. And so you put a song up there, a lot of times they'll put a, they'll strike it because it's got a copyrighted song on there. But she sings like an angel. She has been on The Voice a couple of times and been called back several times. But I don't know, just watching it and listening to it, listening to her voice, and then listening to her say, "This is for my dad," and whatever. Like, I started crying, and like yesterday all day, I was like weepy because I'm having some issues with figuring out what to do for my job. I already know I'm not going back to this online teaching job, but financially, I don't think I can afford to quit all the way. And so we've had some changes in our plans. And so, like I've just been struggling. I've been struggling all day yesterday and today with just crying off and on, not from grief, but just from life. You know what I mean? But grief just makes everything a little worse. And so I'm looking at myself. I'm like, I can tell I've been crying, and I haven't, and my face is breaking out because I've been on this diet and I'm losing weight. When you lose weight, toxins get released in your body. There's this scientific thing. But when we get to the weight loss class, if you want to sign up for that one, then you'll understand those things. When you store fat, fat also surrounds toxins in your body to keep you safe. And so when you start losing fat, the fat gets released and the toxins that it's surrounding also get released in your body. And so toxins are released in several different ways. I haven't been drinking enough water. So toxins are released in your waist and in your breath and then in your skin. And so if you don't drink enough water, toxins come out through your skin. So when you're losing weight and you think you're doing great, and all of a sudden, like, you have all these breakouts, probably because you're not drinking enough water. So note to me, I have drank this much water today. Anyway, so that's module 2. I don't know how far you are. So if you are watching this and you haven't even watched the first lessons on module 1 through 7, get started. Okay. There's no time limit. You have access to the lessons forever. You won't have access to these videos forever, but you will have access to all 28 lessons for life. So, you're on only your time, but if you're trying to heal, if you're trying to pivot, that's the whole purpose. If you're trying to train your brain to go from grief to growth, if you're trying to get that transition, then I don't want to say fly through the lessons, but like if you'll stay consistent and continue to do the lessons on a regular basis, like tell yourself you're going to do 1 or 2 lessons a week and really watch them and do the homework and do the thought process through it. And, just look into all the things and spend a few days thinking about the topics. I really think it will help. If you do one and then you kind of mess around and then you wait a month and then you do another one, like, it might help you. But if you truly want that pivot, that growth, that switch, that mindset shift, then continuously do the lessons. Do a lesson when you think you've pretty much done it all and you've done the homework and you feel like, okay, I'm cool with this. Then go to the next lesson and see what's next. Or skip around and look at the topics and say, I'm really struggling with this. I'm gonna watch that lesson, because there's no specific order. I mean, I felt like I wanted to put it in a logical order for my own brain, but you don't have to go in order. You can go to any lesson that you want to, and it's a standalone. It doesn't necessarily rely. I would do lesson 1 first, simply because the intro lesson has you writing a letter to your future self that you will save and you will reread when you finish the course. So that one I think you should do first, but all the rest of them, do them in whatever order you need. And if there's one you don't want to, if you don't really care one rat's butt about exercise and you're not going to, then skip it. Don't worry about that one. Go to the meditation one, or go to the action before thought. That's an important one. Go to the resources one, whatever it might be. And just look at it. Some of them are easier than others. The ones towards the end are a little quicker, because they're just one little thing. Like one of them just talks about Facebook groups, how to find them and what's in them. One of them talks about grief share only. If you're not interested in grief share, skip it. But pick out the ones you think will help you and participate and do them, and give me some feedback and let me know, if anything needs to be added, or if anything really helps. So I know that definitely leave that in, or if anything needs to be changed, or, just give me feedback and let me know. At least let me know that you're participating in it. You paid the money to get the course. I want you to get your money's worth. I want you to get 10 times your money's worth out of it. And honestly, I want you to get better. And I know that you signed up for the course to get better. And so that's what I want. And I truly feel like it's going to help you. It's not going to be, the only thing out there or whatever. I know it's not going to be like the holy grail of grief healing, but I do think it can be a really helpful tool to help you. So, so that's my little lecture, and that's my overview of Module 2. I'm thinking maybe Thursday. No, we probably need to do it quicker. Probably like Tuesday. Let's try like Tuesday. I think I'm going to do live session 3 so that I can go ahead with live session 4 before the Facebook group ends. So if you have questions, concerns, any kind of help, need any kind of help, support, any of that, feel free to ask. Put it on the Facebook group. Email me, onehappywidow@gmail.com. I'm here for any of that. So just reach out and let me know. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. If you missed the live, which looks like everybody but one person missed the live, that is fine because it was real quick and I know it's the middle of a weekday, but the recording will still be up. So you can watch this recording anytime that you need to. It will stay up as long as the group stays up. And so, yeah. And then tomorrow, which if you're watching this on the recording, it'll already be done, but tomorrow we're going to do a live, public live on YouTube, and we're going to talk about widow's fog or widow's brain, and that one should be interesting. So I have to make up my face for that one. So anyway, thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next live sometime in the next 4 or 5 days. All right, keep doing those lessons. Reach out if you need help. See you next time. Bye.